Oh, so COVID-19, isolation, quarantine, all these words are words we heard lately. We are all affected by the COVID-19, and it's obvious that we all know already, listening to all the education going out there and all the things we've been hearing. It is real. Let's not take it for granted. What's important is that we make sure that all the protocols, all the emergency, things that we need to do to avoid being, affected or spreading it. It's what's more important. We need to take the precautions very seriously because it's real. Trust me, it is real. Day in, day out, the numbers are changing. It's increasing. We can only be thankful to God that the death rates are not that high. But hey, it is real. It is real. That is why it's happening. And so, two main things that are very important: wash your hands with soap under running water for at least 20 seconds. That's one thing that's very important. And then don't move away from your sanitizers. Make sure you always keep them with you. And you use them. Don't sop it the thing. Don't do it kitty kitty. Pour that in and use it. When it finishes, buy another one. And then don't also forget your nose mask and then your face mask. Wear them. It's very important. It's either you are wearing it or you are staying 2 meters away from the next person. Your safest option is to make sure you always wear them. Welcome to the Men's Lounge. Don't you miss me? It's 9 p.m. on a Thursday. What do you expect? I'm here, and it's always exciting to be back with you. Thanks to Casapreco Alomo Bitters, we are here this evening, and we're going to give you a very good show. I'm going to go on my very first break. When I'm back, I'm going to introduce my guest, and then we move on. My name is Nanaya Odamin. Please stay tuned. All right, so welcome back, and I'm grateful to have all of you being part of the show today. Today we are talking about the COVID and the stress and anxiety it's brought with it. And today in the studio, I have. Should I let him introduce himself? Sometimes it's nicer that way. What do you think? So let's take that option. Chairman, today myself, way back in school, used to write myself. Shoot, you have a minute. Myself, let's go.
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Yao Fojo. I'm a consultant psychiatrist. I'm also very interested in sleep medicine. I work privately in a number of private facilities in Accra. I have taken a particular interest in this COVID-19, apart from the fact that it's a novel new thing. It's also very exciting from a medical and a research perspective. So it's changed the world, hopefully for the better, and we look forward to discussing it and how it's impacting on our lives. Yeah.
All right, so his name is Dr. Yao Mfojo. I'm sure the name Mfojo sounds rings a bell. I found out only today that Mfojo is not necessarily from Volta region. It's actually from the Equiapim side of town. You see, I've learned something new today. All right, Doc, Akwaba.
Yeah. If we want to go there.
Come to me, Kasa.
But you say you.
All right, so for the past few weeks, months, days, a lot of things have changed. Look, it has changed, and we can't run away from the fact that this novel, this virus has brought in a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety amongst people. When it started, I remember we sat here and we were talking about how it's helped us working from home. And I remember a lot of women were happy about the fact that they are seeing their husbands at home all the time and all that. I wonder if it's still the same.
Gee, I don't think anything can ever be the same in the way.
Are they still happy?
I cannot speak on their behalf, but what I can say immediately, social distance does not mean sexual distance.
Social distance does not mean sexual distance. Okay.
So that's A
That's
new
just
one.
enough.
Yeah, that's just enough.
All right. So, Doc, I mean, with your background,
Yes, sir.
I would want us to delve into anxiety, because it's obvious this whole thing has brought a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. How will this relate in terms of how is this kind of anxiety? Is it the usual? Would it be anybody having that kind of anxiety? Would it be the same, or it's different when it comes to this? You know, I call it coronavirus. I try to make it short. This coronavirus season, is the anxiety different from the usual?
Let me start by putting it in perspective. And so that would mean that let's talk a bit more about what the COVID-19 or coronavirus is. Then we can put it in perspective.
Yeah.
So, like I mentioned earlier on, it's a novel or new pandemic illness. That means it affects all corners of the world. Now, it's originated from Wuhan in China. And when it started, it spread quickly, and it's supposed to spread by respiratory or droplet infection. Initially, it was known to be causing all kinds of respiratory problems, and then subsequently some people were put on ventilators, and then as the illness evolved, we found out more and more about the illness. I think that with respect to anything that invokes anxiety, and anxiety more than the normal, that would mean that there is probably a lack of understanding of, because when you generally don't understand or know something, then it can bring about inappropriate anxiety is really inappropriate fear.
Yeah.
I think that again, let's be quite factual. Just over 80% of people who would otherwise have this virus, and Ghana is not excluded, would be what we call asymptomatic, or that would mean that they do not show any symptoms. They don't have any difficulty in breathing, they don't have any temperature, they don't have any coughing, they don't have any pains, they don't have any pains, headaches, they don't have any redness of the eye, they don't have any diarrhea, etc. So majority of people, which is a good thing. I think we were having a discussion earlier about the
I thought that's rather dangerous because not the fact that it spreads even
on the
when you're
contrary,
not showing symptoms.
When majority of people are asymptomatic, it means the majority of people's bodies are able to keep the virus or the illness at bay. So that's a good thing. So let's actually reverse the end. And interesting enough, again, when we start talking about recoveries, majority of people, even who then progress to the milder form of the illness, which is another 10% or so, also recover. So that again is a good thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, there's a small percentage of people, slightly under 5%, who for some reason or the other progress to a severe form of illness. As to why that happens, again, it's a novel thing, and research science, we are trying to understand that. I think what's coming out more recently is that it leads to some formation of blood clots by attacking certain cells in the body, etc. So that's the kind. But let's not get too technical on it, because. But okay, so when you're anxious about something, and there's a lot of, I mean, nowadays with the options with media, social media, TV, radio, the thing on in your face, on your phone, etc. So there's a lot of information out there. Now, yes, this is a relatively technical area and a technical illness. We, the medical fraternity, etc., are just getting to understand it. and learning a lot more each day. There's also a certain, again, anxiety and apprehension about, oh, do we know enough? What extra? Okay, now back to the I think that the discussion started with
The anxiety.
the anxiety,
Yeah.
and so one has to try and allay that, in the sense that this is a new illness, but majority of people are able to fight it off and be well. Now, when you are having symptoms, again, there are certain simple basic things that you can do, and they are simple, one would say, first aid remedies.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen some of them.
Oh yeah, we have, and
Yes.
we've had a lot.
Yes. So we will not punt any particular one. Now, so again, back to the whole thing of anxiety, in the sense that is it abnormal? Of course, again, across board, there's a great different spectrum of people. Some people will hear, like, you'll see a snake here, and they'll walk towards it. The other people, majority of us will,
Yeah.
what we call the fight and flight response.
Yeah.
Will actually run away. And there are also a number of people who, regardless of whatever you say, their response or their actions will be completely out of. So again, we have to start again realizing that there'll be some inappropriate responses.
Obviously.
I mean, suddenly people who want to wash their hands.
We have to be washing their hands all the time.
You know, there's washing of hands and there's washing
I
of
know,
hands.
I know.
Which seems like a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, under circumstances. So yes, there will definitely be an increased level of anxiety. Let's not deny that. And interestingly, again, the phenomena of fake information is also another thing that worsens
Yeah.
because there are all kinds of things going around which are not necessarily correct, which is why one tries to simplify and break down what actually is going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in that regard, I mean, it's obvious that the anxiety may not necessarily be different from what's anxiety to other or reaction to other, things maybe, other fears maybe. But relating it to the COVID, the virus, all the things we are hearing, suddenly things that I was told when I was a kid, I should be washing my hands. I was told this when I was like in nursery or something. And today, my teacher is not there with a cane, no. But look, I wash it anyway. But for like a couple of months ago, I didn't really care. Even when the teacher was there with a cane, I was like, Masa Ade. But now, I'm pushed to do it. And it's just that just for the survival of life, I have to do it. Now, how do we curb this kind of anxiety and stress? Because it is obvious
You
that
mean
this virus...
anxiety and stress in terms of washing your hands is
No.
Okay.
This virus.
Okay.
You see, it's kept us at home for a while. Things have changed. I definitely believe strongly that it has not been all rosy for a lot of people. And especially all the information that's going around, the fake, the true, it's all telling us that, look, you need to keep safe. And that is also one of the things that brings fear to some people, which is causing the anxiety. In this time, how do we curb it?
That's a tough one. I think on the flip side, there are certain, it's almost like the world is on a reset, that in the sense that there are certain things that we took for granted that we are now being made to look at a little bit more closely. I mean, let's take Accra as an example. Suddenly, the markets are being fumigated, and the we're washing our hands. One would hope that all this would impact on cholera as the way the rains, and so there are some positives that I think would emerge from that. But again, just in terms of the world going back to what it was before, I must apologize for saying this bluntly, but I don't think that that's going to happen in the very near future. In terms of the world has changed, and the world has changed, some good, definitely, and I would not even use the word bad, but some genuine adaptations which we have to look at.
Yeah.
So and people respond to changing circumstances in different ways, and for that we will then have to see again, or identify whose adaptation is, for want of a better word, out of sync or pathological in terms of, and that those are the ones that again we would have to look to see how we support and help in terms of the of if you are defining their issues or the challenges as anxiety.
Well, so let's come back to the positives that this would have brought, otherwise to us. And so, for the past weeks again, we work from home. It's giving rise to a lot of changes. Now we are forced to set up Zoom calls, meetings online, work from home. I mean, we are using our emails more as against having to print and write memos all over the place and all that. I personally don't see this as something that is just for the meantime as a solution to a problem. I see this as something that is taking a very drastic kind of change to stay, and it's going to stay, and it's going to have to stay. Because if in 6 months I have become used to working from home, why then the rush after 6 months trying to get through traffic to get to my office when I could easily do everything else, in my morning schedule, the rush hour, at home? And I believe these are some of the positives you probably would associate with this, because it gives rise to, the changes in technology that we need to probably start getting used to and seeing how we support each other towards it. And also, I see it as a little reduction in stress.
Yes, if you do allow me to answer that, I'm sure that the telcos, MTN, and
They're making too much money.
oh please, no,
No, but that's the truth.
But they've put in the things, the
Look,
systems in place.
look, Shay.
How are they making too much money?
When
Then
this
you should
thing,
just ask them to sponsor your program.
well, I'm sure they're watching. I probably should hit them hard in the back, because this thing started, and a lot of people were, trying to be philanthropical in a way, if there's any word like that. Helping, reducing things, taxes going down. I saw people doing stuff. I didn't hear anything like, oh, there's a free data, or I was hoping to.
I think if I heard,
unless I didn't see it.
I think if I heard them rightly, I think there was some indication or some suggestion like that, and they said that, if I can remember correctly, their response was that if they did that, they would rather be overrun in terms of being able to keep the data channels. They would rather be overwhelmed, overrun. So rather stay afloat and stay whatever and provide some service, that rather than being overrun. But I don't speak for them, but that's the reason I had. But yes, there are definitely some positives, and there should be even more. I mean, we have to start looking internally at our food production, at exports. I said imports have to to go down.
Yeah.
You don't know where the thing is coming from. You don't, But apart from that, I think this is also a significant wake-up call for us to, again, beyond we having to make our own face masks. We've seen all kinds of innovations about ventilators, etc. But I think that the greatest advantage, if need be, would be looking at what we are then able to produce and consume ourselves, food-wise, across the value chain. And of course, that should create work. That and in this instance, most like we are forced to, because imports are going to significantly
Drop.
dropped already, and they're going to significantly drop. From healthcare, we are very excited with the announcements about all kinds of hospitals being built, etc. So, in a sense, that's also a good thing. One must buttress that by saying that food is medicine. So if you eat well, and that would mean well, for as far as I'm concerned, is eating local food.
Okay.
There's no beauty around the moon. I mean, how can God, in His wisdom, and this to my religious brothers, sisters, and brothers, I mean, does it make sense that God will put you in a place and give you food and resources, and then you have to depend on bringing food from 6 hours or 1,000 or kilometers away before you eat? No, I mean, God has given us everything, so it is up to us to utilize what is around us. So in that respect, I mean, I think that, and then again, when we think about how well our ancestors and earlier on, how well they lived.
They lived, yeah.
Yes.
They lived even much longer.
Yes. Because they were eating natural foods, they were strong, etc. So those are for me, those are the very, very hopeful, significant positives, and it's how we are then able to build on.
Look, I'm going to go on my next break shortly, but before I do, let's take this one on anxiety again. So, how are there any signs to anxiety?
Yes, anxiety is basically, anxiety first and foremost is a normal phenomenon. That means that your heart is beating faster, you are breathing faster, your palms might be sweating a bit. It's a natural response to a fearful situation.
Okay.
I think I used the example of a snake coming.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a natural response which makes us then avoid a situation. But when the avoidance of the situation is to an unnatural situation, then it becomes a problem. And for that matter, like just using the COVID as an example, more than 80% of people do not have symptoms. That means that your body is strong, but rather a lot of people have taken the opposite of, but when I am tested and I am positive, it means, some people think it means I'm dead. which is completely wrong.
Yeah.
So their response and then their fear, whatever, is inappropriate. It's an inappropriate response to the actual facts. So that again distinguishes or tries to almost like explain the inappropriate or anxiety situation to something that you should rather be happy and proud of. That, okay, fine, I tested positive, but I'm asymptomatic.
which means I stand a 100% chance of killing the virus.
You've already
Killed it. All right, so if you're just joining us, it's the Men's Lounge. We are talking about the COVID, the stress, and the anxiety it brings to us, and how we can curb it, what we can do to get around it, and still save, and still stay safe and be better people. We are going to go on a break. When we are back, the WhatsApp lines are open. Our other social media platforms are also open. I'll announce them to you. You can join us, share your thoughts, and we'll make sure we'll do justice to them. Please stay tuned. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, it's still Men's Lounge on ETV Ghana, and feel free and send us your messages. The number is 05020222254. I repeat, 02022222054. Send us your messages via WhatsApp, and we will do justice to it. We'll read them, and then we can also take your concerns. So as we go on, we have Amos Kelvin Annan on the line. We have a few questions to ask him. He's going to share his thoughts on this topic. And so, good evening, sir.
Hi, good evening, Chief. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. And we are grateful you're joining us for this evening's discussion. So, I'm sure you've been listening in for a while. We were talking about anxiety relating to this coronavirus, but for you, we are going to relate it to relationship, obviously, marriage and all that. And so let me start with this. How do couples handle problems in relations that are brought about by deep anxieties linked to confinement, especially in this season of coronavirus?
Well, thank you very much. It is important to state that many of the problems people are encountering right now within the COVID-19 period predated the COVID-19. Now, for those who have issues that were lingering or unresolved before the COVID-19, prospects are that the COVID-19 lockdown and its attendant issues would aggravate those problems. Now, for some individuals who never had any issue, but all of a sudden they're having issue, you can look at the change in circumstance where now you are all together. Hitherto, you may have spent like between 4 to 8 hours out of the home, and now you are literally in each other's face, on each other's case. And that can be overbearing for some individuals, especially for those of us who tend to be locked in work. You're now going to be struggling with burying your head in work and then also relating with your significant ones, whether it is a spouse or your children. So that then heightens the tension between the parties. And that heightened tension between the parties, if does not get resolved, then you have all these backlash of conflict and all the needless things that could be avoided. So we as individuals must look at it first from ourselves as individuals, because it is the intra-person battles and conflicts that impact on the interpersonal issues. So first, you the individual before between you and other parties.
Okay, so it is quite clear that this, obviously, for the reason of the stress, being in each other's face and all that, has a way of bringing up some conflicts or the other, the self-isolation in this lockdown. So let me ask you this. So Are there any strategies that couples can adapt to ease these possible conflicts? It's obvious they are avoidable anyway, but should they happen, are there any strategies couples can adapt to ease it?
Yeah. There are specific things that you have to do. First and foremost, you need to understand that the inner vows that the person has. For instance, you have the whole issue of we are locked down. The question would be, are you locked out or distuned from your family? Because the fact of you being locked down does not mean that life has come to a halt. Now, when one interprets the lockdown to mean that life has literally grounded to a halt, it will impact how you respond to it. Because life definitely is not going to come out as you always expect. Now, for instance, also, here we are, I am home. Now, whilst home, what are my new priorities whilst I'm home? If I'm going to live my life as though it was the everyday, regular, way of going about things, clearly it's going to impact me. And as was said in the presidential address, we are not in normal times. That means that everybody now needs to begin to realign. You see, the realignment is key. It's a very important strategic decision today that you realign yourself to a new reality. And what's a new reality? You may be working from home instead of working in the office or driving all the time to the office. That adjustment is required. If you're not going to do that, and if you put yourself in a straight jacket or a box, then clearly you are going to break down. Now, some of us have outstanding activities we had always wanted to do. For instance, a book you had always wanted to finish. Some exercise regime you had always wanted to do. These then offer you an opportunity to reposition yourself to maximize the use of the time. Now, there's also the temptation to become inert. A person who is in a state of inertia, inactivity.
Yeah.
And that, you need somebody to hold you accountable. So, for instance, your spouse or your children can help you. If you are sleeping too much, which has not been planned for, you can let your children prompt you that, at this time, please wake me up, if you don't want to use the alarm clock.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these are some of the little things. And there are some things you may have done all by yourself. Now you can get your family to get along with you. For instance, your wife is in the kitchen. If you can cut onions or lettuce or anything, you can just go and stand there and look at what is happening in the kitchen. It's a beautiful thing.
But in some families, I keep hearing these things that if you are not careful, it becomes part of your chores, over time. That, but you need to be helping at home.
If it becomes part of your chore, we call it labor of love.
Oh, okay.
You go to campuses and ask the young men who are in relationships, and you see them running helter-skelter, doing photocopy, binding and stuff, all in the name of love.
Oh.
Not long ago, there was a whole television show, Things We Do for Love.
Yeah.
We should begin to ask ourselves, what are some of the things you can do in the name of love? How can I show love differently in this COVID-19 regime? To my children, to my spouse, to my domestic assistants. If you have domestic managers in your home, if you have relatives living with you, how else can you show love differently? And I think that if we become versatile or dynamic in the way we do things, we will not hit the rock bottom effect which many are experiencing today. We have heard that in the UK, for instance, domestic violence has skyrocketed by 120%. And that's quite scary, We can avoid those kinds of situations if we realign, reposition ourselves. And the third one, rediscover yourself. There are so many things we didn't know about ourselves.
Yeah.
As families and as related ones and as significant ones. The time has come for us, before you go to bed, what have you discovered? Some don't have games. Now, thankfully, you can go to some of the malls or shops nearby. Go and get some loot or worry.
Yeah.
Break the ice. Tense moments are not good. And the family must be a place where insanity can be tolerated to a large degree. If your home is not a sanatorium, then you are in